All right, so you are watching this video more than likely because you are a person who wants to see life change in people. You want to see life change in students and young adults and men and women and the crowd of people that you lead in worship on Sunday mornings and our small groups. You want to see life change in people. You want to see people meet Jesus, to find salvation, to find healing, to find freedom in Jesus. You want that. If you're watching this video, it's probably because you want to be used by God. You want your life to have real meaning, the kind of meaning that you can only get by serving Jesus. You want it. In other words, you're hungry for it. And if you're thinking, I don't want that stuff, then go ahead and turn this video off because you're probably not going to make it as a leader, at least not in this church. Because in this church, we have three H's, something we call the three H's that we look for in anyone who wants to step up in a leadership role here at Revolution Church. Anyone that we bring on to a leadership role here has to be holy, they have to be humble, and they have to be, lastly, hungry. Because only hungry people who want it, who really want it, will make it in leadership, especially in ministry leadership, and especially in a ministry leadership role in a church like this that's constantly growing and changing and moving forward. And so this morning, well, I don't know if it's morning when you're watching this, but it's morning right now. But this morning, I'm going to talk about hunger. And here's the big question. What does that look like? What does hungry look like? Well, if you're taking notes, I'd encourage you to write this down. Hungry looks like an ant. Hungry looks like an ant. I'm not talking about your Aunt Barbara, not A-U-N-T. I'm talking about the insect, A-N-T. Hungry looks like the insect ant. Listen to this passage from Proverbs. Proverbs 6:6-9. It says, take a lesson from the ants, you lazy bones. Learn from their ways and become wise. Though they have no prince or governor or ruler to make them work, they labor hard all summer, gathering food for the winter. But you, lazy bones, how long will you sleep? When will you wake up? Hungry looks like an ant. Here's why. First of all, because ants take initiative. Verse 7, though they have no prince or governor or ruler to make them work. In other words, no one is telling them what to do. Verse 8, they labor hard all summer. No one tells an ant what to do, but they take initiative and they do what needs to be done anyway, because they're literally hungry. So for example, my assistant for Revolution students, her name is Ruthie Davis, and I want to use her as an example. When Ruthie first started, one of her jobs was setting up the snack table for youth group for Wednesday nights every week. And it usually takes about 20, 30 minutes to set up the snack table. But one day she was gone for like 2 hours. And I was like, man, it's taking her 2 hours to set up a snack table. Like we may have a talk, But when she came back, I was like, hey, where you been? And she's like, well, I noticed that the youth storage closet needed to be cleaned and needed to be organized. And so I was working on that. And I never once asked Ruthie to do anything with the youth storage closet, but that's when I knew, okay, Ruthie wants it. Ruthie's hungry. She took initiative because she wants it, because she's hungry, because she knows that doing stuff like cleaning out that horrible youth storage closet is super important. It helps us find what we need easier. It helps us save on our budget, so we can reach more people. She doesn't have to be told what to do. An ant doesn't have to be told what to do. An ant takes initiative. Also, an ant doesn't limit itself to a job description. An ant doesn't limit itself to a job description. An ant doesn't say, well, that's my quota of breadcrumbs to bring into the ant mound today. I've done my duties today. I'm done. I'm checking out. No, an ant goes above and beyond what they're told to do. An ant goes above and beyond their job description, their leader expectations. Why? Because they're hungry. And then thirdly, ants are always on mission. Ants are always on mission. Ants are always gathering food. You never see ants just sitting around, all the other insects, they're lazy, like they sit around. Spiders, you just see them hanging out in their webs. Beetles, they're just, sitting on your front door in the summer with all their little buddy beetles, just sitting there not doing anything. But you never see ants doing that. You never see ants sitting still. Ants are always moving. Ants are always on mission. They're always zooming. They're always working, because they're hungry. And ants don't come into the ant mound in the morning, barely on time to gather food, yawning and moping around, which brings me to another point, and that's this. Ants don't say I'm tired, by the way. Ants do not say I'm tired. That's one of my biggest pet peeves, just FYI. Don't ever say that to me. I don't know who you can say it to, but don't say it to me. Don't say I'm tired, especially if you don't have kids. You're not allowed to say I'm tired. Just know if you do, I'm not laughing in your face, but I'm laughing at you on the inside. I don't care if you didn't get sleep, the night before a big game day like Sunday or Wednesday or Monday or whatever. Don't tell me you're tired. Hungry people don't say I'm tired, especially on those big game days or mornings or nights. Ants don't say I'm tired. Ants don't mope around. Ants are on mission every time you see them. And even if they are tired, like really tired, they push through it on their big game days. I think about Donovan Wadsworth on Sunday mornings, and I don't know if you've ever seen Donovan Wadsworth, who's the RYA pastor here, but on Sunday mornings. But he looks just like an ant. He's literally like an ant, zooming back and forth up and down the hallway. He's not just a spider, hanging out by himself to himself in the corner in his web. He's not like a beetle, sitting around with all his beetle buddies. No, he's always on mission on a Sunday morning. He gets his steps in, y'all, on Sunday morning. Like he's like one of those mall walkers, just zooming back and forth. He's just searching people to meet and people to greet because he's hungry to see life change. He wants that. He's hungry to see people meet Jesus, and he knows that most people need to be greeted and feel welcomed and feel loved before they'll be receptive to the gospel message that's being presented on Sunday morning. He's hungry for that. And so he's always on mission. He's always moving like an ant. Ants are selfless. Ants are selfless. Ants are not selfish. Ants are selfless. They aren't storing up food for themselves. They're storing up food for their tribe. They're storing up food for their team, for their family. I think about Ava Wadsworth, who's a senior coach in our kids ministry. Man, she pours so much into our kids ministry, and then she has her own ministry in RYA, which is for her age group, where she serves as a group leader even in there. And then she still gives everything that she has left to my ministry, to Revolution students on Wednesday nights. She's such an incredible leader. And now normally we wouldn't let people serve in so many different areas, just FYI, but because she's on staff, it's a little different. But the point is, she doesn't have to. She doesn't have to serve anywhere except for kids. That's her quota of breadcrumbs. She isn't just focused on herself, though. She isn't just focused on her ministry and the bare minimum that she needs to do for a paycheck. She is selfless. She goes above and beyond. I think of Jenna Lee Owens, who's a production coordinator here, but she still serves as a leader in Revolution Students on Wednesday. Same thing. I think of Brandy Allred, the lead pastor's assistant, and she's also like what we call the firewall for Revolution Church. She takes all the crazy phone calls from the interesting people. I won't say crazy people, interesting people, and she still serves on Wednesday nights at Revolution Students. Same thing with her. I think about a lady in our church named Abby Brown, who is on the facility team in our church. She works with the elders of our church all the time, not to mention she runs her own business, does realty. She's on the board for a counseling ministry, but she still pours herself out every Wednesday night for Revolution Students. I could literally just keep going and going and going and giving you example after example, but this is what selflessness looks like. It looks like an ant. That's what hungry looks like. Ants are selfless. They aren't focused on themselves. They're focused on others. One more point about ants, and I guess this isn't really a characteristic of an ant being hungry, but there is one more thing I think we need to say about ants, and that's this: ants rest. Ants rest. We talk about how hard the ants go and how much they grind, and that's what makes an ant great. That's one of the things that makes a leader great, their hunger and their hard work, but ants rest too. Look at verse 8 again. Verse 8 says, they, ants, labor hard all summer. What are they doing? They're gathering food for the winter. In other words, ants have a finish line. Ants are grinding, but the whole time they're grinding, they're keeping that vacation, that break, that rest, that Sabbath, that whatever, that winter in the back of their minds like a finish line that they're running to. Ants are looking to winter. Ants have a Sabbath. Ants have scheduled rest, and they know exactly when it's coming. And if they didn't rest, listen, they would die. They would die if they didn't rest. For the hungry people, for the ants in this room, if you do not rest, if you do not have scheduled rest like an ant does, you will burn out and you'll probably die spiritually. And we have a whole video on this that you can go on our page here and watch. So I won't go into any more detail on rest here, but I know there's a lot of ants watching this video, and if you are an ant watching this video, man, you better rest. But let me recap here and I'll be done. Hungry looks like an ant. Ants take initiative. An ant doesn't limit itself to a job description. Ants are always on mission. Ants don't say I'm tired. Ants are selfless, and then ants rest. So take a lesson from the ants.